Right. My name is Hoyen, consultant psychiatrist and professor of psychiatry. I'm editor and founder of Global Psychiatry, which is now called Global Psychiatry Archives. We published quite a few papers, and to make it easier for the reader, I just would say some of the or focus on some of the highlights of the paper. And this paper is quite interesting. It's from a team from Bangladesh. Dr. Arafat, Papadopoulos, Dr. Mulek, and Dr. Udin. They have focused on the vulnerability and resiliency of childhood, and they have seen that their life is full of stressors. That's understandable. And the way people deal with stressors is very personal and it's very complex. And the fact is that vulnerable people adjust badly to stressors and very often have inappropriate responses, whilst resilient person practice adaptive physiological and psychological responses. And the authors discuss this in relation to childhood. To go quickly through this, I would just go to the conclusions of this paper, and they focus on genetics and different models, promoting resiliency. But the important part is more or less in the conclusion, showing that resiliency and vulnerability are integral parts of a human being, and they're difficult to predict. Their mechanisms, whether someone is resilient, the other one is vulnerable, is not easy to explain. However, active coping is associated with development of resiliency, and passive coping seems to be associated with vulnerability. In most studies, it has been seen as a very much person-centered matter to be resilient or vulnerable. But however, it seems that the whole thing is a bit more complex, and newer models take the environment into this pattern. So it's a bit to question where you are, where you're from, what you do, whether you can and will develop in your specific circumstances being vulnerable or resilient. So patterns of good intellectuality, adequate emotional regulation, good attachment in early childhood, positive self-esteem, optimistic and an altruistic attitude, learned helpfulness, and active coping strategy are said to be good for the resiliency of a person. And childhood plays a massive role in that. Sensitive to stress, inequality, social and psychosocial resources, development delays, abusive parents, and maladaptive behaviors are found as factors which cause vulnerability. And the question is, that resiliency cannot just be interpersonally created, but it must be in the micro level, which includes this local family, individual stages, and the person. And the other thing is that on the macro level, that we would need to have adequate community set up, cultural beliefs, which not just focus on vulnerability and help, but also strengths and growth of the person. And this should be done in the national and international bodies as necessary. So it's not just about dealing with weaknesses, it's just preventing weaknesses and develop resiliency in our society, which are the purpose of, or should be the purpose of policies. I think it's a very interesting and I think mind-provoking paper, which I would possibly say we should take the time to read it. If you want to read it, please check our website, www.globalpsychiatry.co.uk, which is the website which allows also you to submit a paper to Global Psychiatry Archives. And if you're interested to hear more about mental health issues in the scientific or in the practical level, or if you want to see previous conference contributions by very famous people and famous psychiatrists, then please subscribe to our channel, Global Psychiatry Archives. Thanks for your interest, and I hope you enjoy the reading of the whole article. Thank you.